When did my parents realize my ribcage was showing because of them? You've been dumpster diving? My father shouts at me as I sit across from my father and mother. How else do you expect us to have our fridge fully stocked with food on a measly $300 a month? By not eating? I asked with a very sarcastic tone of voice. My father, Craig, looks at my mother, Gina, with wide eyes. Gina is just staring at me. So you dumpster dive for what? I bark out a sarcastic laugh. For coupons, obviously. Both my parents' mouths drop open. So you aren't starving yourself? I stare in disbelief at my parents. Months ago, I was because we never had anything to eat. Months ago, I stared at the almost empty refrigerator. There was nothing but condiments and juice. Nothing truly edible nor anything to make dinner with. I have been steadily losing weight for months now. All of my doctors were concerned about my health and questioned my parents if I had been actively starving myself. Dad, how much money do we have on food stamps? I shout out. 20 for the rest of the month. He calls back as he continues to read the newspaper. My head falls forward as I close the refrigerator door. It was barely the middle of the month. For a family of 3, $20 is just a cheap dinner through a burger joint. Something had to change as my stomach growled in hunger. I need protein and carbs to finally try and put weight on. A small amount of only $20 would not cut it. I looked around the room in desperation, only to spot the coupon section of the newspaper sitting on the dining table. Sitting down, I looked through it. Food cheap on sale and coupons matching said sales making plenty of the food free or extremely cheap. My eyes narrow in thought as my mind runs through the numbers. For a week's worth of food and the coupons and cheap food, I could have food for the week. If I was very good and matched prices with brands, then the food would be free. I needed to test that theory. It wasn't like either of my parents would go shopping for food anytime soon, not when we would be trying to stretch $20 for the month. My parents weren't good at that, which is why my mom handed me the card with a wave of her hand as she continued working on her accounting business. At the grocery store with coupons on hand, I went to work. As I calculated the numbers as I shopped, I hoped that I would be spending only $5 on today's grocery trip, if that. At the cashier, the woman asked, "Any coupons?" I handed all the ones I gathered on my way over. The high of watching each coupon scan bring the total price down was addicting. The total price my first time trying was only a nickel I had to pay. After that, I took over grocery shopping and I talked with the neighbors. The neighbors were reluctant to give their own coupons, but I was a good negotiator. What if you make a list for me each week and I'll do your shopping in exchange for your coupons? None of the neighbors could argue it there. They were surprised the first time when I had only spent a couple of dollars for their groceries. They even had to check the grocery bags to make sure I got everything they had asked for. It quickly became a job when they realized how much I was saving them. The neighbors started paying me every week for saving them money and shopping. Each week I could pull in between $200 to $500 from only 10 neighbors. Soon many more wanted to learn how. With the need, I started dumpster diving to get more coupons that were thrown away to help my little class of couponers grow. I was earning money at something that I was extremely good at. My parents stared at me in disbelief. Before anyone could say anything, there was a knock at the door. Daniel opened it to see Ms. Davis from next door there. "Is Joe here? He needs to take my list for the week," and I worried when he didn't show up on time like usual. I stood up and greeted her. "Sorry about that, Ms. Davis. It won't happen again." "Don't worry about it, darling." Ms. Davis pats my hand gently. "I'm just glad to be saving over a few $100s every month." I smile at her as my parents finally realize how independent I have become under their noses while keeping all 3 of us from starving.